All right, so where we left off, I was using this format, the 9.5 by 7.5 at 350 pixels per inch, that I used to make my first print-ready TIFF. This is my print-ready TIFF right here. It's 7.5 by 9.5, flattened on a white background at 350 pixels per inch. Now I'm doing it with two other projects from the semester so far. So if I do it with my Creaturescape, I think this looks good. This is it floating. That's where the mat would be. So I hit return. Make sure I'm in Photoshop. Hit return. And now what do I need to do? I need to say layer, flatten the image. Right? Then I have to say file, save as. And I don't want it to be PR Karl assignment 4. I want it to be PR Karl Proving Ground or Creaturescape or some other description, right? I need a different name because it's a different piece. So I'm going to call it Creaturescape Popeye. Save it to the desktop. And because we are printing this, it has PR in the front, at the front of it. This is after it's been flattened. And I save it as an archive format, as a TIFF. We'll review all of this for the midterm. There's a reason we need EPS. There's a reason we need TIFF. And when we save as a TIFF, we have the option, which we always want to use, of using LZW, which shrinks it without losing any quality. It's a lossless compression format. So helpful to know. All right, now if I go to my desktop, I see my second print-ready file right there. And I mark it yellow. Now, what is my third print-ready file going to be? I'm asking you to print one that's from a vector and then two others of your choice. But let's say you didn't finish assignment 4 or you're not happy enough with it to print it. And we're still going to do a color variation. The other one from a vector would be assignment 2. Not assignment 2. Exercise 2. Our emoji. Right? Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. So if you go to exercise 2, I'll just remind you, lots of ways to work with vectors. Open up the PSD, and you'll see that all of these are vector shape layers. So they can be outputted at any size, right? So then I'm going to go to image size, and I'm going to see what it is. This is 10 by 10 by 350. That's great. That's bigger than I need. So what can I do? What I'm going to do is save it because it's larger than I need right now, right? I'm going to save it as a copy. I'll just do it onto the desktop just to be really clear as a PNG. This is how we're going to save our logos to put to Canvas as well. Notice how the background is turned off. So when you save as a PNG with the background turned off, that means that it has transparency. It's flattened, but it has transparency. Now I open up my Photoshop file from before, right? And now I can drag and drop that PNG into it, but that background doesn't work well anymore, right? So I'm going to edit it, fill it with white, but I need to change its orientation because it's in landscape format and I want it to be in portrait format. Is that all making sense? Okay, so what do? I go to image, canvas size, not image size, and I change it from 9.5 by 7.5 to 7.5 by 9.5. Still with the white background. There we go. And then because it's a smart object and I know it's already big enough, it was 10 by 10 inches, I can hit Command T and I can decide, holding down Option, like how to make it look best within that window. But this is why I want everyone to print a vector, even if it's just our emoji. Then I can double click on it because it's a free floating shape. And I can add something like a drop shadow if I want to. And add some distance. And some size and some spread. Just give it a little bit of presence on the page. I can play with these things. This is the exact way, using layer styles, that we're going to add color, make a color variation to our black shape logo. So I'll keep that really simple. Okay, now how do I save this to make it print ready? I have to flatten it. It's 7.5 by 9.5 by 350, and then I have to rename it and save it as a TIFF. So save as PR. This is no longer my CreatureScape. This is now my Popeye emoji. Save it to the desktop as a TIFF. And when I save it as a TIFF, I always want LZW. So now I have 3 flattened TIFF files at the right size. What's on the board, 7.5 by 9.5 at 350 ppi. But some of them have extra white space around them, so they float nicely within that frame. Now, how do I save those so that they can be printed? This is what we do. We go to Dropbox.com. We would use Canvas, but Canvas is down. Historic day, October 20th, 2025, a day that will live in infamy. So Dropbox.com, you're going to hit return. It's under links in Canvas if you ever forget. And we have Canvas again. And this is our Canvas account, right? It should log you right in. If it doesn't, I will help you log in. And what you're going to do is you're going to find the first folder, number 1, digital art class files. Click on it. Then you're going to click on number 1, flattened TIFF files to print. And you will see FA25, which stands for Fall 2025. You each have a folder. So I'll pick on Jerry because he's not here. So Jerry has a folder. Jerry's folder is empty. So he opens it, and then he's going to drag his print-ready files, which should have PR in front of them. I'll make it so you can see them. He's going to drag all 3 of those, drag and drop, right into his folder. These Dropbox accounts are housed and hosted by our print computers. Because with high-end digital printing like this, fine art printing, you don't want to do it over a wireless connection. So we have 2 hardwired printers. And now it's in there. They're ready to be printed. And then I'll print them, and I'll give you the mats, and then we'll tape them in next class for our full gallery critique. Do not mess with anyone else's folder or anyone else's file. If someone accidentally puts something into your folder that's not yours, just leave it there, right? I'll be able to see it. I'll be able to rearrange it. So don't delete people's stuff. Just get your own stuff in your folder. All right. So that's how you make them print ready. Now, how do we turn in assignment 4 for Canvas? And without Canvas, how do we get it ready? So I close this. I go back to my desktop to my working format. Remember the difference between a working format is that's where you make changes. The print ready format, that's what's called an archive format. That's what we store and keep, and it takes up so much less memory. Notice that the PSD, if I look at it, it takes up 2.1 megabytes, and it's just black pixels. But the TIFF with LZW, it only takes up 233 kilobytes. So it's so much smaller. It's like less than 20% the size, but it's still just as high quality. Okay, so I'm going to open up the PSD file, and now we are going to make it so that we can submit it to Canvas as our black shape vector, the second requirement. To do that, I turn off the background and I save it as a PNG. So I save as a copy and I scroll down to PNG, just like when we turned in our emojis way back when, to the desktop. And now, there it is. This I mark orange because it's an online format. That will be the black shape logo that I would give to a client to use because it has no background, right? And it could go on their website. It can go on their business card, all that stuff. All right, now I'm going to turn on the background again, and I'm actually going to duplicate it. Command J, the background. And by doing Command J to the white background, I am now going to edit and fill that with middle gray. So this is a way to test the versatility of your black shape logo. So does it read pretty well on gray? Yes, it does. But is it truly versatile? If I hit Command J, duplicate that gray background, and then fill that with black, no bueno. So my black shape logo, unsurprisingly, doesn't look good on a black background. How can I change that? How can I make it so it's still a black shape logo, but can be shown on a dark t-shirt, on a dark website page, in dark mode, right, as an app icon? What I do is I double click on the smart object and open up the layer styles, and we are going to do what's called adding an offset. So you see my little Voltron here that my son made, which I use to teach pixel resolution, right? Notice how the background behind him is very similar to the colors of the Voltron, but how you can still see the Voltron clearly? That's because it's got that white bubble around it. That's called an offset. So how do I create one? In layer styles, the most basic way is to just add a stroke and to make that stroke white under color and to put it on the outside of your image, and then you can control the size. So how do I want this to show up on dark backgrounds? I think maybe like that. What do you think? Now that's a hard-edged offset. I don't want it to be on the inside of the edge, right? I want it to be on the outside. So this is what it looks like on gray. And I don't want it to be in the center. Center is how Illustrator does strokes as the default. So I want the offset to be on the outside of the shapes I cut out. Okay, now I say okay, and I see how that looks on gray. Yeah, that still looks pretty good on gray. And I see how that looks on white. So now I'd say that's even more versatile. And what's great about layer styles is they can be turned on and off. Your vector is still a smart object. It's still perfectly clean. It's still perfectly scalable. Now, how do we add a color variation? Command J, duplicate that smart object with the offset. I like to do it on gray. Let's open those up again. Double click, open up layer styles. Let's add color. Color overlay is an easy way to add a color to everything. Because this is a recycling logo, let's try something in the greens, but maybe not so garishly green. Right? So voila, we have a color variation with an offset, but it looks kind of boring. So maybe I want to add a texture to that. So I can click on the top here, bevel and emboss, which will use a lighting direction. I can click on texture. I can click on the options for texture, and the one I like to use is the water texture. And I like to take it to a very low scale. So it's almost like a leather texture. And you can play with the depth. Yeah, maybe I like that. You can invert it. Okay, so I kind of like it like that. Okay, now if I go to the bevel and emboss, I can play with the opacity of it. Maybe I want the highlights to be dimmed a little bit, but the shadows to be a little bit stronger. Maybe I want the angle of it to be a little different. All right, now I've got a texture. And that's what it looks like on black, and that's what it looks like with that color overlay. But what if I don't want just one color? What if I want a gradient? Right? So we're going to be learning a lot about gradients as we do logo type design and continue to work with poster layout. Now, because of the bevel and emboss texture, you can see how the bottom edge of it has a little bit more visual interest than just the black shapes alone. But maybe I don't like these colors. So under gradient, I'm going to click on the gradient options, and I'm going to choose here. This is just getting me started. So I'm going to go to the greens. What are the green options I have for gradients? Got lots of them. Let's see. This one's kind of tailor-made for our campus, right? It's our campus colors. but I don't like these colors.